I'm so glad to see this question because it's tricky. But the seeing of this is so significant. If you drink from this wisdom now, and if you really get this, it can live inside of you and continue to teach you from the inside. So the question is, if we're already whole, why does growth still hurt so much? So this is a question about wholeness. Many traditions, especially the non-dual traditions in all their expressions, will say you are already whole and complete. And even if our intuition tells us that there is something about that feels true, it doesn't match our lived reality. People will say, okay, yes, I long for wholeness, Cole, but why would I even long for wholeness if I'm already whole? How can it even be true that I am whole? So let's explore wholeness. So if I am whole, there's the question of growth, and then there's the second question of it hurting. If you're whole and complete, what's growth about? How are we growing? And then how is it possible that there is still hurt? Because the opposite of wholeness would be to experience lack, like a jigsaw instead of whole. And every indentation is what we would say hurts. I always say that these indentations, like a little jigsaw sense of self, instead of feeling whole and complete, if we feel these missing pieces of ourselves, it's as if they are like caves. These are the sacred caves where the shadow and the darkness exists, and where at the deepest part of the cave is where the trigger is, where the buttons are, where the hurt is, where the wound is. And if we go one step further, and this is something I've been teaching for many decades because I find it so helpful, this is where duality, or the appearance of duality, even arises. And I don't want that to sound too philosophical. Think of it this way. Inside of our sense of self, and inside of especially character, personality, emotion, mind, at the place of mind, feelings and sensations, there tends to always be duality, always a sense of opposite, true? And then the mind comes along, as the mind does, because it's the mind's job is to slap sticky notes onto things. Okay, little sticky notes. So my mind is going to put a sticky note, which is a word, a label, for this is one thing and this is the other. So extrovert, introvert, happy, sad, free, trapped, responsible, irresponsible, true? And you could carry on for days. And when I work with clients and students, we explore which of these are the really painful ones. Now, what the mind will do is the mind will say, this quality over here, or this feeling, or this thought, or this perception, it's the one that causes me pain. And this is biologically hardwired into us. And it judges it and says, let's make that smaller. Let's evict it. Let's push it away. Let's ignore it. Let's shove it into the cave. And then its opposite quality, therefore, by the very mechanism of this, we must make bigger. We must exaggerate it. We must try harder to be more of that, to run away from, and we set up a pendulum. So stick with me here. Imagine there is this fulcrum, and the fulcrum doesn't move, but the pendulum swings, doesn't it? So my joke, which is there to help you remember this, is that I never even liked chocolate till someone said, It's bad for you. Don't eat chocolate, Cole. And I was like, And the moment I resisted, pushed against chocolate, chocolate became extremely, well, maybe not extreme at first, it became powerful. Because that pendulum, whatever we resist persists. True? So now we push against chocolate. We try to make chocolate small. And I realize I've drawn my picture wrong if I'm going to do this accurately. So we go towards chocolate, and we go to, there I messed it up again. We go away from chocolate. We make chocolate less. We villainize chocolate. The mind says chocolate is bad and we need a world with no chocolate. So the absence of chocolate is good. Now we create a mask. We put it on a pedestal. We make no chocolate plus, and we make, as in having no chocolate, as being against chocolate, as in a reality without chocolate. And then we try to make chocolate small. Now, I've made a little fun out of that just to make it stick. But look at what we do to ourselves. Look at the cruelty and the inner violence we commit on ourselves. Here comes a natural expression of what it means to be human, a feeling. Here comes a natural expression of your personality that is part of the patterns of personality that arises naturally. Like I go and look at an apple tree and I see it's got a pattern to it that makes it distinct from an orange tree, and that life is celebrating its expression through all these patterns. And by virtue of that pattern, there's going to be tendencies, there's going to be difference. Yeah? Now you have this experience of being human, and along comes a feeling or a thought. And we do three things, broadly speaking. The mind separates these into sticky notes, into labels. The heart masks against it. So the heart gets embarrassed. The mind creates fear. I'm afraid of that thing because that thing threatens my survival or is not me. I'm not, Cole, I'm not, like, how's this one? I'm not arrogant. Like, what? What in us must exist to declare we're not arrogant? There's a kind of yin-yang thing here. There's a yin becoming yang, a yang becoming yin. We become the very thing we resist. What resists persists. If I try not to see the color blue, how much blue starts to show up? The very push against fear, the fear of fear makes more fear. The anger of anger makes more anger. The shame of shame makes more shame. So the nature of the mind is to separate, to divide, to label, to sticky note everything which is beautiful and wonderful and necessary until we create an identity from it. When we put our identity into the part of the pendulum that's swinging instead of the fulcrum, when we make ourselves, I am not, I'm not angry, I'm not judgmental, or what's worse, when we try not to be, when it's actually true, I'm trying not to be irritated when I'm actually feeling irritated. I'm trying to be non-judgmental because that's what I've been taught makes a spiritual person. And even worse, I'm trying not to be human because I have this idea that maybe I am something free of what it means to be human. Did that land a little bit of salt on the wound of how courageous it is to just be here? So this wholeness is the mind is dividing, the heart is masking. I'll show you this part of me because I am ashamed of this other part of me. I'll show confidence, I'll hide a lack of confidence, or the other way around. I'll show you a lack of confidence and I'll mask my confidence for fear of being perceived as arrogant. And then the gut resists. So we've got these three centers of intelligence, and each of them perpetuate these dualities, these opposites, because they're designed to, not because they're doing anything wrong, and so the gut resists. It's a silent, unconscious, sensation-based pushback. It's the same resistance you have if you're feeling cold. Your body resists that and wants warmth. It's an instinctive behavior, it's a reflex. So we have this rejection of reality, which is necessary for survival. I don't accept that I'm sitting outside in freezing weather because my biology is designed to go find warmth and shelter to survive. So there's an innate rejection, resistance to the reality I find myself in. Okay, so far so good. have I lost you yet, or are you still with me? So see duality as a necessary part of what it means to be human. Mind dividing, heart masking, gut resisting, perpetuating all of this. And what we then experience is a lack of wholeness. And what hurts emotionally, and what hurts what hurts is the indentation in the wholeness. Okay, so this is, and please be clear, I'm not talking about physical pain now. Physical pain is a part of reality. True? I'm talking about emotional hurt. I'm talking about existential hurt, the longing of the heart, the fear of the mind, the resisting of reality of the gut when we claim an identity from it. So if we take a moment now, we're going to separate two things out. We're going to say that there is the reality of what it means to be human. With a mind, with a heart and a gut, with these centers of intelligence that are functionally designed to separate and to create duality, to spin the movie of duality. It's an amazing movie maker. And that is perfectly fine until we create an identity, until we make it an I. When you put your I in the hole, in the indentation of this jigsaw, when you make yourself your mask, when you make yourself the lack, when you claim an identity, when the pendulum swings one way or the other and you claim I am this. And listen to the language we use when we say this. We say, I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, I'm not dogmatic, I'm not gullible, I'm not weak, I'm not strong, I am not materialistic, I am not, yeah? And then we make an I am out of a duality word. So I'm not materialistic, I am spiritual. If there is an opposite to what we claim as an I, it is always going to be subject to hurt. It is not speaking for wholeness. It is when we claim an identity from the flag planting of I am and I am not. Anything that has, and flag planting is always my metaphor for the way the mind and the heart and the gut create these opposites. And look at our daily life. I remember when my kids were young, I used to watch them fighting over the things they liked as if they were identities. Like if one liked one kind of music and the other didn't like that kind of music, there was almost a battle around one being right, that it was crazy to like something that the other didn't like, because this is I created around the duality, the flag planting. And in a world where, could we agree, if we just look for a moment, if we just are courageous enough to look beyond our own flags for a moment and we look at how much suffering is created from duality-based identity, which is pretty much all identities. not functional identity, not functional identity. Like, it's very helpful to have an ID book, part of functional reality. Functional reality, but not true identity, not deep sense of self. If our sense of self is part of this flag planting, part of I am this, not this, not that, then what we have done is we have lost our wholeness. In that moment, wholeness is lost. In that moment, there is another kind of suffering that makes its way in, and it will hurt. And the hurt is because this cave, it's a part of us that longs for wholeness, that feels the pain of lack, plus what's in that indentation is the wound, which means that in our relationships, if I've worked really hard to carve something out of my being, or at least to pretend that it's gone, or if I've claimed an identity and I have created I am spiritual, or I am scientific, or I am not material, or I am agnostic, or and we create identity here beyond functional reality and communication. Any opposite is a threat and is going to trigger. And those we call friends have the same jigsaws, and those that we call enemies are the ones where our plus and minus get together. And this is a joke, but it's not really. We are deeply attracted to and equally repulsed by the opposite of our jigsaw. So when we have a minus and someone else presents as a plus of that quality, we're attracted to it and repulsed by it at exactly the same time. And my joke is that we go to war with it, or marry it, or both, in whichever order you like. Because it's a magnetic thing, it's like literally that minus and plus sets up a magnetic pull. So we literally can't be in a room with somebody who's very, very loud if we are very, very quiet. If our quietness is a move against loudness, loudness is triggering. And growth, true growth, and I'm going to say this, any true growth, whether it's spiritual growth, material, as in physical, emotional, psychological growth, is a reclaiming of our wholeness, which in non-dual language is the taking up of the flags and the re-establishing of the I as whole and complete. Now you might be wondering, but Cole, you said in the beginning, and maybe you've seen the thread, that personality is always going to sit in this dual space. Mind's always going to do sticky notes. So now what is this wholeness that we're talking about? And that is the final piece of this puzzle. And as always, it comes down to what we claim as our true self. It's always about where the word I actually belongs. Does the word I belong into my personality of preferences? Does the word I belong in the camp of that which moves and changes on the pendulum of life? Does the word I belong on what I've put on my sticky notes, what I feel resisting? Does it belong in my mask? No. So here is a leap, and it's a leap that is really the fundamental fabric of true awakening. And there is an opportunity for growth here, and we will claim it all back. I promise you, we're gonna take back the personality, but we have to. If you are whole and complete, and wholeness is your true I, which is what the traditions and what this teaching is saying. This teaching is saying you are whole and complete. But I've just unpacked a whole explanation of the parts of us that don't feel whole and complete, where we claim I. What is whole is deeper than the personality. is the ground of being, just like, and these are all metaphors. Metaphors have gifts, but they always bump into limitations. So just take the gift of the metaphor, but don't cling to the metaphor as if it's going to answer all questions at all times. It cannot. It's like a metaphor is a lens to see something specific, but then if you try to use that same lens for something else, it probably will fail. So the ocean and the wave metaphor. Your true I, your true wholeness is more like the ocean, especially the deep, deep ocean. Whereas the waves, which appear to be separate, okay, these waves that appear to be separate, that are rising in and of the ocean, they are subject to duality, to push and pull, to the appearance of duality. So, for example, your personality has traits. Some of us, the externalization or the expression of what it means to be Cole. Cole will have preferences. She is a certain height. There is this unique expression of life called Colleen. I find my wholeness when I claim the I is deeper than that, is fundamental to that Colleen can't exist without the wholeness underneath, pure awareness. And what is amazing is that when I take my I back to the ocean instead of the wave, I'm not separating from the wave. I am recognizing that the true I, that the waves come and go, but the ocean does not. That I, as I am, even the personality depends on that. I am aware of my personality. My personality is not aware of me. I am aware of my preferences, the pull and push of my mind, my heart, my gut, the resistance, these biological, psychological, physical, mental, mindset-based movements, all are natural, but none of them are self. Ultimately, they are made of self, like the wave is made of an ocean, but they are not the self. Then I claim I where it belongs. And ironically, I found that the most growth, I think, is possible when we realize I am not the personality, and then we become sanctuary to our personalities. Like I can tell Colleen's personality, I can notice something arising in me, but I know I am whole and complete, and I know I am this non-dual, boundless, felt sense. It is peace that doesn't have an opposite. It is love that doesn't have an object. So it is non-dual. There is this love that is the true I, is love that includes all the moving parts of the pendulum. It is the fulcrum that does not move but is not against anything. So all the flags get lifted, and this love, when given to the moving mind, the moving heart, and the moving gut, I feel gives it the nourishment it was looking for. And it will still move, and it will still be a Colleen, and it will still be a you as a wave, but your reality and your identity has stabilized. And in that wholeness is so much satisfaction, so much deep satisfaction, that this wholeness has rest for the mind, the heart, and the gut, that it has rest for the wave, that it can be a resting place for the hurt, that it can nourish the growth of what it means to be human, the personality, the growth of the mind, as if the mind, the heart, and the gut, and this expression of life, like a wave that is forming, is growing and becoming, while the ground of being is never. So personality cannot be whole. The mind can never not do its job of sticking sticky notes and dividing. The heart, as in human emotion, will always have an edge that feels like longing. And the gut that's wired into our biology will always have a resisting of reality, which is why we give the microphone to deeper wisdom, which is why we rest and we are willing to do this work of deeper seeing. And it does have the capacity to ease a lot of suffering, the suffering of the mind and the heart and the gut. Mostly because we recognize that which isn't growing, isn't whole to wholeness, is always whole and complete, is always available. If we are recognizing that we are looking from what we are looking for, and if we realize the song is different to the space and the silence in which the song arises, and the true I is the space. It is pure open awareness. And then we see for ourselves, we experience for ourselves, I am this which is whole and complete, can never be added to, never subtracted. And then the song of that is sung into all of these expressions, and it gives them sanctuary, and it gives what it means to be human, something very, very important and something worth discovering.